Hi everyone, it's Louise from Lulu Purple. Today I'm going to be showing you a mixed media canvas which I did for my dad's 70th birthday. So first of all, I'm going to use my matte medium to stick down page text onto my piece of cardboard. I'm using pages from an old book and I've ripped them up and I'm just sticking them onto my piece of card. I'll just show you a little bit and then I'll skip to the end. I have used my computer to print out a large 7 and a 0 and I am just gluing these onto a piece of an old cereal box. Once that had all dried, I then use another piece of cereal box and stick the 70 onto it for extra strength. Once that had all dried, I then cut out my 70. Once I've done that, I then glue some buttons onto the 7 and the 0. After all the buttons are in place, I then leave this to dry overnight. So going back to my canvas, I'm using my matte medium and I'm just pulling the paper from the edges and sticking them onto the back. I'm now going to use my black gesso and I'm going to paint over the top of all the buttons on my 7 and my 0. Once the gesso had all dried, I then use my white pearl metallic paint to go over the top of the buttons. Now I started using the white pearl but it didn't look quite right. As you can see, I'm just trying a little bit. It wasn't quite the look I was going for, so I changed my mind and I then use the glorious gold metallic paint. Once the gold had all dried, I then use my ice blue metallic paint and dry brush it over the top of the gold. As you can see, we all make mistakes and have accidents. Just dropped it in the paint. Never mind. So talking of mistakes, earlier on I painted my canvas and used a lot of stamped images on it, but I thought it looked a bit too busy, so I'm going ahead and sticking more text paper onto the back of my canvas board so that I can start again. Going back to my 70, I am now going to use my Rich Espresso Black Pearl and Peacock Pearl metallic paints, using a little bit and a small brush and just dry brushing the different colours onto the button numbers. After the paint had all dried, I then go back in with my glorious gold metallic paint and just randomly do a few more dabs over the top. Going back to my canvas board, I am now going to use my Salty Ocean Distress Paint, and I'm going to use a wet wipe to apply the paint to the background. I'm doing it this way so that you can still see the writing in the background. After the blue paint had all dried, I then go in with my Squeeze Lemonade Distress Paint to add some more colour to my board. I am now using a cereal box again, and I'm using my cog dies to cut out lots of cogs. I then use my black gesso to paint all my cogs. Next, I use my shimmering silver metallic paint to paint my cogs. I am now going to use my bronze metallic paint, and I'm using a small brush, and I'm just dotting the paint in random areas around all of the cogs. Next, I use my Peacock Pearl metallic paint, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing with a dry brush, randomly dotting the colour around all of my cogs. I then use my Crystal Green metallic paint and do exactly the same thing as before. This time I'm just using my finger to apply the colour to the cog. As you can see here in a moment, it's given it a more rusty, aged look. I then use my amethyst metallic paint, and I'm using this on the paper clay cogs that I made. I then use my rich espresso metallic paint and a dry brush, doing exactly the same thing, just dry brushing it onto the cogs in random areas. Next, I use my splendid gold metallic paint, and again, same thing, dry brush, randomly dotting the colour around the cogs. I then go back in with my amethyst metallic paint again over the top as some of the colour had disappeared. I am now going to use my sunflower archival ink and an ink blending tool with the Tim Holtz gear stencil, and I'm just applying the ink over the top on the top and the bottom of my canvas. I am now using the number stencil by Tim Holtz. Next, I'm going to use my Fern Green archival ink and the Dot Fade stencil by Tim Holtz. This wasn't showing up very well, so I go to my black archival ink and I use the stencil Dot Fade with this ink. I am now going to use my Cosmic Shimmer acrylic glue to stick all my cogs onto my canvas. I am now using my VersaFine ink pad Onyx Black, and I am using a sentiment stamp to stamp onto a piece of white cardstock. I then use the coordinating die to cut out the sentiment. I am now using my Cosmic Shimmer acrylic glue again to stick my numbers onto the board. I am now using my Sticks to foam pads to add onto the back of the sentiment to give it a bit more dimension. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. If you have, please give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Links to my website, Facebook and more will be in the description below. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you got inspired.